The grant came through on a Thursday, which felt right, because my mother had always said Thursdays were the best day for good news. Close enough to the weekend that you could actually enjoy it. 14 months after her death, after 14 months of me running Holloway Family Practice on my own, the federal health equity grant I'd applied for 3 times finally had my name on it. $500,000. I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried. My husband suggested we celebrate at Meridian, the rooftop restaurant downtown that I'd been wanting to try since it opened. He made the reservation himself, ordered the wine before I arrived. A Willamette Valley Pinot, because he'd remembered me mentioning it once 8 months ago, in passing. That was the thing about him. He remembered everything. I was 31. He was 42. We'd been married 11 months. The restaurant was on the 23rd floor, with views that stretched to the lake, and the early October air was just cool enough that the outdoor heaters glowed amber against the darkening sky. He was already at the table when I arrived, jacket still on, looking at his phone, and when he saw me, he stood. Like he always did, and the phone went into his pocket. "There she is," he said, and kissed my temple. "The woman who just changed the future of her neighborhood." I laughed. He ordered. We talked about the grant, about what it would fund, expanded pediatric hours, a social worker on staff, and his hand covered mine on the table, warm and heavy and familiar. I let myself feel good. I hadn't done that in a while. My phone was face down beside my bread plate. I'd promised him no work tonight. It buzzed once. I ignored it. It buzzed again. Then a third time, rapid. Not a call, not an email, but a notification from a messaging app I hadn't opened in months. One of those third-party platforms you use when you want to reach someone who's blocked you. I glanced at the screen when he reached for his wine. The message was from my older brother, the one who had been in Singapore when our mother was dying and hadn't come home until 2 days after the funeral. The one whose number I had blocked 2 years ago when I finally stopped waiting for an explanation. He'd used a different account. The message was a photo. Not a photo of him, a photo of a document, a loan agreement with a corporate letterhead I didn't recognize, and in the signature block under a name I didn't recognize was a face I knew. My husband's face. Below the photo, one line of text, "Gray Subaru outside. Don't tell him, don't say anything, just come." My hand was steady when I reached for my water glass. I don't know how. Everything below my ribcage had gone cold. "I need to use the restroom," I said. "The wine." He smiled. "Take your time." I walked through the restaurant and did not run. I went down the elevator instead of up to the terrace. I pushed through the lobby and out onto the sidewalk, and the October air hit me like a hand to the face. The gray Subaru was across the street, hazards off, engine running. My brother was in the driver's seat. I hadn't seen him in 2 years. He looked older, heavier through the jaw, more gray at his temples. He rolled down the window when he saw me, and the look on his face wasn't relief. It was something harder. "Get in," he said. I got in. He didn't start talking until we were 3 blocks away. He drove like someone who'd been checking his mirrors for an hour already, eyes flicking up every 30 seconds. I sat with my purse in my lap and watched the city slide past. "Before you say anything," he said, I know what I did. I know I wasn't there. I'm not here tonight because I think 2 years of silence makes us even. I'm here because 6 weeks ago I saw your husband's face on a surveillance photo and I couldn't reach you any other way." He took me to his apartment in Lincoln Park, a converted Victorian building with exposed brick and too many bookshelves. A woman was waiting in the living room. Compact, late 30s, short dark hair, the kind of stillness that comes from knowing when not to speak. She set a folder on the coffee table. "This is Thea Colston," my brother said. "She's been investigating your husband for 4 months." The woman nodded at me. Mrs. Holloway, I'm sorry to meet you like this. I looked at the folder. His real name is not the one on your marriage certificate, she said. That identity was created 7 years ago using a stolen social security number belonging to a man who died in 2016. His actual name is Carl Weyrich. He has 2 other confirmed aliases. He's been doing this since 2017. She opened the folder. Bank statements, wire transfer records, a spreadsheet with rows and columns I couldn't parse yet, photographs of my husband taken without his knowledge in different cities wearing different expressions. He's already moved $2.1 million from your late mother's estate into 3 offshore accounts, shell companies registered in Cyprus and the Cayman Islands. But that's not the end point. She tapped a document near the bottom of the stack. Monday morning, he's planning to execute a power of attorney transfer. Your mother's estate trusts. $34 million. Once that money crosses international wires, recovery odds drop below 12%. The number sat there, 34 million, my mother's entire life's work. He's done this before, Thea continued. 2 confirmed prior victims. A woman named Sasha in Denver. She lost her home and $1.8 million. And a woman named Faye in Phoenix. Faye lost her inheritance and her restaurant business. She had a breakdown 8 months after he disappeared. She's in an inpatient facility now and can't testify. But her sister will. My brother sat across from me. He didn't try to touch my hand. He just looked at me. He cut everyone off so slowly you probably didn't notice, he said. Sarah, from your nursing program. When did you last actually talk to her? I opened my mouth, closed it. 7 months. Maybe 8. She'd stopped responding to my texts and I'd assumed I'd said something wrong. He changed the reply settings on your old group email account, my brother said quietly. Made it look like you'd unsubscribed from everything. Thea found it last week. I thought about the last year, the way my husband had gently suggested I didn't need to maintain friendships with people who didn't understand the kind of life we were building. The way he'd taken over managing the estate accounts to protect me from the administrative burden after my mother died. The way he'd said, every time I mentioned feeling overwhelmed, that I was still grieving and needed rest. Let me handle this. You just focus on healing. I'd let him. I'd been so grateful. We spent another hour at that table. Thea walked me through the offshore accounts and the forged documents. Then she slid a card across to me. An estate attorney, Ambrose Keller. The FBI was already involved, had been building the case since Faye's breakdown. An agent named Tully was coordinating. The freeze orders would be filed tonight. But they needed me inside the house through Monday morning. You're asking me to go home and lie to my husband, I said. I'm asking you to help us catch him, Thea said, and to protect what your mother built. I ate coffee at the counter. I went home at 5:30 in the morning in a cab with a story about nausea and a nursing colleague who'd put me up so I wouldn't drive. My husband was in the kitchen when I came through the door, still in yesterday's clothes, hair pressed flat on one side from falling asleep on the couch. He pulled me into a hug the moment he saw me. I made myself hug him back. My arms remembered how. You should have called, he said. I know, I'm sorry. The wine hit me harder than I expected. His hand moved in slow circles on my back. You're home, he said. That's what matters. I lay on my side of the bed that morning with my eyes open, listening to his breathing, and tried to understand how I had looked at this man for 11 months and not seen what he was. That afternoon, while he was on a call in the home office with the door closed, I found the pregnancy test I'd been avoiding for 2 weeks. I went to the bathroom down the hall and sat on the edge of the tub. The line appeared in 40 seconds. 5 weeks, positive. I sat on the cold tile floor for a long time. Above me, on the closet shelf, was a keepsake box my mother had given me. Dark wood, brass clasp. I'd put the prenatal supplements in there after my miscarriage 6 months ago. My husband had special ordered them, said the brand had better bioavailability, had brought them to me every morning with a glass of water and a kiss on my forehead. After I lost the baby, he'd wanted to throw the bottle away immediately, said we needed to move forward, get rid of painful reminders. I'd pulled it from the trash when he wasn't looking and put it in the box without understanding why. Some instinct I didn't have a name for. I stood up and opened the box. The bottle was still there, half full. The label looked professional, clean fonts, reassuring language. But something about it had always been slightly wrong to me. No lot number, no FDA registration code, a font that was almost right but not quite. I was having coffee at the counter. I called a toxicologist I'd worked with through the hospital, one of the few people my husband had never found a reason to talk me out of keeping in my phone. I explained quickly, the way I'd learned to explain things in nursing. Just the relevant information. The miscarriage at 9 weeks, the symptoms beforehand, fatigue worse than seemed normal, nausea that didn't improve the way it should, a faint yellow tinge to my skin the ER had attributed to pregnancy stress. The elevated liver enzymes mentioned once in the discharge paperwork and never followed up on. The bottle I'd kept. She asked me to photograph every side of the label and send it. She called back in 12 minutes. That label is not FDA registered, she said. The format mimics a legitimate brand, but there's no approval number, no manufacturer address, no lot code. Those capsules were hand-filled. The powder isn't uniform. I can see it in your close-up. A pause. I want to test for black, cohosh, and pennyroyal, both herbal compounds. Both have been used historically to terminate early pregnancies. Pennyroyal in particular causes liver toxicity. A standard ER tox screen wouldn't catch it. They're not looking for phytochemicals. But your alt elevation fits the profile exactly. I was standing in the hallway of my own house. The home office door was still closed. I could hear his voice on the other side, calm and professional, managing someone else's crisis. He had brought those capsules to me every morning. He had kissed my forehead. He had told me the baby needed me strong. That evening I texted Thea. That night I called Ambrose Keller. I sent 3 capsules from the bottle in an overnight envelope addressed to the toxicology lab. I did not tell any of them about the pregnancy. Not yet. I made dinner. I opened wine and poured myself a glass I didn't drink. I watched my husband talk about a podcast he'd listened to on his run. About nothing, about everything, and I watched his hands on the table, the same hands that had filled those capsules, and I thought about what Thea had said, that people who do this practice for years before they choose their target, that every gesture and every expression has been deployed 100 times before. The wine he ordered because he'd heard me mention it once. The way he always stood when I entered a room. Sunday morning, he set down his coffee mug in that deliberate way he had before asking for something. "There's been a glitch with the estate accounts," he said. "A routine compliance sweep froze them. The trust manager needs us to come in Monday and co-sign a release authorization. 10 minutes. I'll handle everything." He looked at me. "You just have to be there." I kept my face exactly where it was. "Of course. What time?" His shoulders dropped just slightly. 10 o'clock. I picked up my phone the moment he went upstairs. Monday, 10 a.m. Bank meeting. He's moving forward. Thea replied in under a minute. "We'll be ready. Don't eat or drink anything he prepares tomorrow morning." I looked at the cup of coffee, already on the counter. When he wasn't watching, I poured it down the drain and made my own. The bank occupied the 17th floor of a glass building on Michigan Avenue. His associate was already waiting, a man in his late 50s, silver-haired, with the practiced warmth of someone who'd spent decades persuading people to trust him with their money. He'd been disbarred in Illinois in 2019. He didn't mention that. He spread the documents across the conference table. Standard language, he said. Release of the administrative hold. Consolidation of the trust assets for tax optimization. Just her signature, and then everything would sort itself out. I read every line. Agent Tully had briefed me the night before, from his sedan in a parking garage, 2 blocks from the house, window down, voice low. He'd told me what to look for and what the documents would actually authorize. He'd taped the wire below my left collarbone, flat and small as a matchbook. I signed where indicated. On the last page, below my signature, I wrote in small clear letters, signed under advisement of independent counsel, Ambrose Keller, Etsk. Neither of them noticed. The associate gathered the pages. My husband reached across the table and covered my hand with his. "Thank you," he said softly, like we were alone, like this was real. "Anything for you," I said. I asked to speak with my husband privately before we left. The associate stepped out. The door clicked. My husband looked at me with that patient, attentive expression I had spent 11 months believing was love. "Carl," I said. The expression held for 3 seconds. Then something moved behind his eyes, a rapid, quiet recalculation. "Where did you hear that name?" "From the woman you left in Denver, and from Faye's sister, and from the FBI agent who's had your case file open since Faye's breakdown." I kept my voice level. "And from a toxicologist who ran a phytochemical panel on the prenatal supplements you hand-filled yourself." He said nothing. "The baby I lost at 9 weeks, I said. "You did that deliberately." "You can't prove intent." "The panel results came back this morning. Pennyroyal and black cohosh, both present in concentrations consistent with inducing early pregnancy loss." I looked at him steadily. "I'm pregnant again. 5 weeks. Was that planned too? An insurance policy in case I started asking questions?" Something shifted in his face. Not remorse, but a cold, almost admiring recognition. Like I'd finally caught up to where he'd been the whole time. "A woman with a young child doesn't walk away cleanly," he said. His voice was even. Matter of fact. "Not a moral position, just an actuarial one. You were already showing signs of independence after the first one miscarried, calling old contacts, asking questions about the Singapore filings. The timing became a liability I couldn't manage." "And the first baby," I said, "was that math too?" "It was a correction," he said. "I'm sorry if that's hard to hear." The door opened. Agent Tully came in first, followed by 2 others. My husband turned. The mask came back up reflexively, the charming, confused expression, the slight furrow of someone who simply doesn't understand what's happening. He'd practiced it. I could see that now. I could see the practice in every single thing he'd ever shown me. "Carl Raymond Wayrich," Agent Tully said, "you're under arrest for wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit financial fraud, and administering a harmful substance resulting in the termination of a pregnancy. You have the right to remain silent." As they put his hands behind his back, my husband looked at me once, not in anger, in something closer to professional assessment, filing the moment away, already calculating the next move. I didn't look away. The trial began in January. Sasha flew in from Denver and testified for 40 minutes in a green dress with her hands folded in her lap, describing the morning she woke up and found every account emptied. She didn't cry. She'd run out 2 years ago, she said, and now all she had left was the ability to make sure it happened to someone else. Faye's sister stood at the podium and read from Faye's journal. The entry, from 2 weeks before the hospitalization, was 2 sentences long. I keep trying to figure out what I did wrong. I don't think I did anything wrong. The courtroom was so quiet after that I could hear the ventilation system in the ceiling. The toxicologist testified about the capsules. She explained the phytochemical panel, the liver enzyme data, The mechanism of pennyroyal toxicity in early pregnancy. 3 jurors looked like they needed air. Agent Tully played the bank conference room recording. A woman with a young child doesn't walk away cleanly. My husband's voice, level and certain, filling a federal courtroom in Chicago in the middle of January. Carl sat at the defense table and showed nothing. The verdict took 4.5 hours, guilty on all counts. The judge looked at him for a long time before she spoke. "You selected your victims with precision," she said. "You chose women in grief because you understood they were already isolated, already doubting their own instincts, already exhausted from loss. You did not stumble into this. You built it, patiently, over years." She set down her notes. 31 years. No eligibility for parole. I watched them take him out. He walked straight and neat through the side door, and then he was gone, and the room let out a breath that seemed to have been held since October. My brother found me in the hallway. He didn't say anything. We stood by the windows and looked out at the January gray, and eventually he put his arm around my shoulders and I let him stay there. "Mom would have had a lot to say about all this," I said. "Yeah," he said, "most of it unprintable." I laughed. It surprised me. It felt like something coming back to life. My daughter was born in June. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, dark hair, and an expression of complete skepticism from the very first moment, like she'd assessed the situation and was reserving judgment. I named her Ada, after no one, because she was only herself, and I wanted her to know that from the beginning. I run the Holloway Foundation now, out of the same building as the practice. We help fraud survivors navigate the legal system, access forensic accountants, find investigators who specialize in financial identity crimes. In the first 8 months, we worked 46 cases and helped recover $3.2 million. Sasha runs our victim outreach program. She's good at it. She knows what it sounds like when someone calls at midnight not sure if anyone will answer. My brother built the intake database. He's here 3 days a week. We don't talk much about the years between us. Some things repair slowly. That turns out to be okay. On a Tuesday morning in April, the intake line rang at 9:10. I picked it up myself because our coordinator was out. "Holloway Foundation, this is." "Hi." A woman's voice. Young, trying to sound steadier than she was. "I found something. In my boyfriend's car. A folder. There were 3 different driver's licenses in it. All his photo, but different names. I took pictures before I put it back. I don't know if that was the right thing to do. I didn't know who to call." I sat down and pulled a new intake form up on my screen. "It was exactly the right thing to do," I said. "Are you somewhere safe right now?" "I'm at work. He doesn't know what I saw." "Good. Stay there. Don't go home before you call me back." I looked at Ada's photo on my desk, at the plant my mother had kept on her windowsill for 15 years that I'd moved here the day we opened. "And I want you to know something before we start." She waited. "You didn't miss anything. People who do this are very good at making sure you don't see it until they're ready for you to. But you found it. You called. I picked up my pen. That's the hardest part. You already did it." The woman on the phone exhaled, long and slow and real. "Okay," she said. "Tell me what to do." "Let's start at the beginning," I said. "Tell me everything.